What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Hopefully you had a good weekend. Overall, we had a lot of fun here. Talked about my favorite Switch indie game, Golf Story, more than likely getting a physical release, and we'll probably see an announcement for that soonish after they paid to get it re-rated by the ESRB, so I'm excited for that. We also had a really fun Spawn cast where we had a lot of stuff to talk about there with Microsoft and, of course, Nintendo, the Switch, 3DS, and everything. It was a lot of fun to talk about, and just getting ready for E3. It's getting exciting, isn't it? Don't you feel that kind of in the air? The E3 excitement is starting to ramp up now that we're just about a month out from the biggest gaming convention, the biggest gaming conference of the year. We're going to have a lot of fun and see a ton of stuff happening. Also, today, you're going to want to keep an eye out because there was this rumor going around for a while, big list of rumors for Nintendo's E3 presser and their online stuff. According to this rumor that you may have seen floating around, it started on GameFAQs of all places, they named today, May 7th, as the day that Nintendo is going to tell us all about their online service, at least to a degree. Now, remember, Nintendo told their investors that early May they would be telling, at least giving an idea of what we were going to be doing with this online service and what it's going to entail. At least more information from what we have now, which is pretty much nothing. So we can kind of keep an eye out for that, and I love when these rumors put deadlines on themselves for no reason, because now we can see if that rumor holds any water at all. Otherwise, we can just kind of ignore it. But if it's correct, it might be worth going back and looking at that in a rumor wave, maybe. We'll see. Today, though, we have to get into a few things, including some KnockOff Labo stuff that is pretty funny and kind of interesting, to be honest. And I was a little surprised to hear about a game that is actually being ported, or at least alluded to being ported to the Switch, that I did not think they would be doing it. There's still a question mark if this game's even coming out. So guys, today, let's get started. So System Shock Remastered is a Kickstarter that has seen its fair share of issues, much like almost every other Kickstarter. If you don't know, of course, Kickstarter, you can go on, you can fund and help develop different things, inventions. It kind of spilled over to game development because, well, it makes sense. If you want a game done and you trust the people doing it, you could put money up to help them get to the finish line and then deliver you a game. Unfortunately, I would say about 80% of the games that go into the active development there tend to have some kind of issue, whether it's a bump in the road where development costs too much, or they just cannot deliver and they go silent for a while. This happens all the time, even so far as canceling some games. That almost happened with this System Shock Remastered that's coming out. A lot of money got poured into it. I believe over $1 million got poured into it, but they couldn't quite do it with their scope, this vast scope that they had for this game. We actually talked about it at one point in a previous Newswave, but they came back about a month or so ago, 2 months ago, where they said, oh, we are going to do it. We're limiting our scope. And apparently now, this was very recently, a few days ago, it was all over the internet, in a Discord chat, it was a Q&A that they did. Well, the developer said, there's another platformer interested. This is what they said. Absolutely. Night Dive is now an authorized developer for both PlayStation and Xbox. And with the refocus on style and scope, we will also be able to port the game to another very popular platform. So they mentioned the Xbox One. They mentioned the PS4. There's only one other thing that's popular enough they could be talking about porting to. That's obviously the Atari VCS. Now, the Nintendo Switch clearly is what they were mentioning there. It's already going to be on the other two popular platforms. Obviously, Xbox One, PS4. The PC is pretty much a given, but the Switch would be the other platform left by default. They didn't even have to really say popular platform. They could just said another platform. I guess they could also be talking about like Linux, I guess. Popular, though, right now is the Nintendo Switch. I think most people understand that. I was a little surprised to hear about this, to be honest, because honestly, when you get to this point with a Kickstarter, I would just like to see the game come out, to be honest. And when they start talking about doing development for other systems before the game isn't even really ready at all right now, and they just had an issue where they almost shut down and they're coming back, it makes you worried as a backer, yes. But there is a lot of potential for this game if they can get it on the Nintendo Switch. Outlast 2 being there, obviously people picked it up and seem to enjoy it. Actually, it's weird, but the Switch seems to be a good spot for horror games. So yeah, I mean, if they can get it to work, if the porting process isn't terrible, why not? If they kind of rein in the scope of the game so it's not this, this crazy thing that they're going with. Apparently, the reason they had to really halt production for a while on this game is because they just got too crazy, carried away with all of the ideas and the world scope and everything. And now it seems like they've dialed it back to a more manageable game, and maybe that means that the porting process would be easier since they're not trying to port this crazy, massive scale game. If they announce it for the Switch, I think that'll only help them going forward, because then you'll have a lot more people interested in this game that wouldn't have been otherwise. Next up, let's talk about Crazy Justice, because it's a game that kind of started small, right? It sounded neat when they first announced it, and it's done nothing but kind of balloon and get larger and larger, and it seems to be pretty popular right now with a lot of people on the Xbox and on the Switch. I hear less about it, people talking about it on something like the PS4, and the reason for that, I think, might have to do with crossplay, because this game is going to incorporate crossplay across a battle royale game type with up to 100 people. That's one of the most popular game types right now, right? And this is a smaller development team doing it. But a lot of us still kind of had that thought, like, really, you're going to make it work that well with battle royale between the Switch, the Xbox, and PC all at once? And they decided, we'll just show you. And they showed us. Here's a YouTube video of them doing just that in the same frame. They have their TV with the Xbox One, and then they have the Switch in handheld mode playing together in a battle royale map. That is pretty impressive. I am a big fan of crossplay, to be honest, because I think crossplay does nothing but help the player base, because if a player base on one is small and on the other it's small as well, together it might be a medium-sized player base, and it could help you find matches easier. So I love the idea of Crazy Justice kind of trying to bring all these platforms together that they can. Sony's not interested, right? They don't care, which is still funny to me, but we'll see. I guess I keep saying next generation, things could change. PlayStation could maybe fall behind or stay even, and maybe they look into crossplay, but right now it seems like Nintendo and Microsoft, and I guess just PC in general, are all about crossplay, and it seems like it's not the hardest thing in the world to get working, with Crazy Justice doing it in a 100-person battle royale. Next up, let's talk about Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo Sport, of course, came out. It introduced the series into VR. We played it. I didn't think it was very good. It was super limited. I think they updated it some, but when I played it, it was a neat tech demo, right? And that's kind of how a lot of people even viewed the game overall. The career mode left a lot to be desired. It was, I believe, always online. There was a lot of stuff that was it just fell short of something like Forza, especially when Forza's on the other side of the aisle with the Xbox and the green team. It's not a bad game. It's not a great game. Like, Forza is the driving game now to get if you want a driving simulation, or if you want an arcade version of it, you get Forza Horizon, which is, by the way, an awesome game. Horizon 4 probably coming this year, actually. So when people start spotting Gran Turismo 7 at GameStops, it starts to make you wonder if that Gran Turismo Sport, maybe that was just a demo almost, a way to kind of get the series back into people's minds, kind of like what they did with Prologue back in the day. Well, somebody did just that. They spotted, as you see here, Gran Turismo 7 as a pre-order at GameStop, which makes a lot of people wonder online, is this going to be an E3 announcement? This was actually spotted by a user over on NeoGAF, and they started posting the picture. Pictures started circulating everywhere, and there have been times where GameStops or other places will kind of get word of these games coming out. There's a chance that maybe a manager or somebody there took it upon themselves, took that little extra initiative to start getting these pre-orders going, because they might be in their computer system now, but they don't have any box art for it. We've done that. We did that before at GameStop. If we were trying to get our numbers up, they didn't send us marketing equipment or just materials. They would do that every week. Every other Sunday, nobody wanted to work because you were just marketing all day, basically changing out box art and stuff. But if there was a way to get a head start with how much pressure GameStop puts on you for numbers, maybe I go home and I make a mock cover art and put it out. If it's there to pre-order and you're able to do it, GameStop doesn't just put these in the system just for fun. So yeah, there is a chance, it's not confirmed obviously, but there is a chance that Gran Turismo 7 could be an E3 title, and Gran Turismo Sport fans or owners may feel a little burned, but honestly, when I played that game and I tried the VR, I kind of had tech demo in my mind while I was racing around with one terrible computer AI opponent that I was racing against. It looked cool, wasn't very feature-packed. So Gran Turismo 7, I would welcome it, and honestly, Forza needs a little competition because they're getting a little complacent over there with what they have. I kind of almost view it as like Madden now, where it's just you buy it by default if you want a football game. you buy Forza by default if you want a racing game. Next up, let's talk about E3. I told you guys I was excited at the top of the show, and it's going to be great. We did get some target floor plans released. These were targeted as of May 5th, very recent, and we did get company codes and things next to it. So the maps came out, nothing was really marked, but they had codes kind of for each spot, and then a user on Reset Era did a ton of work and actually matched everything up. So we can kind of take a look now at much more official plans. Trust me, it's so close now that these more than likely are where everyone is going to be. Now, of course, you're going to notice Microsoft is barely on this map. That's because, of course, they're getting their own building, essentially, to be doing this kind of across the street, similar to how EA does it. But let's take a look at some of these maps. Of course, you're going to notice Sony and Nintendo, big booths, as we kind of already talked about anyway. It's kind of common for them to do that. They both have a lot to show that we already kind of know about. And, of course, Nintendo is probably going to do a themed section as well. I'm sure Sony will be doing that also for different games that they are probably announcing there, like probably Ghost of Tsushima may even see some action, which would be really cool. Days Gone needs some highlighting, Last of Us 2, and then whatever else they have that they haven't really shown us yet, because I'm sure they're going to be announcing a bunch of stuff, which is going to be really fun. You're also going to notice Square Enix has a rather large booth here. Next, I mean, it's larger than Activision, larger than Ubisoft, about the same size as Bethesda, and we expect Bethesda to really show up and really show some stuff, which is going to be neat. Capcom's is mildly sized also. It's bigger than Bandai's. Again, about the same size as Activision. So I'm getting a little excited seeing some of these larger booths. I know larger booths don't always mean, oh, we're going to announce a ton of stuff, but they usually do something with that floor space, so I'm getting pretty excited. I will leave a link for you guys down in the description if you kind of want to go through some of these floor plans yourself and just kind of see what where your favorite company or third-party company or whoever is, and maybe you are going to E3 and these could maybe help you get your schedule set up for while you're there. I'm not going this year. I think next year I'm definitely going to be going because I have a feeling we might get our first look at a few things. I think Metroid is going to showcase next E3, but I also think we might get our first look or teaser at the next PlayStation or the next Xbox, because at that point it's 2019 and they want to at least start getting the tease out there for these next systems. So I'm going to hold off till next year, and it's going to be a lot of fun then, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm, of course, looking forward to this E3. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff here on the channel. It's going to be really exciting, and that's, of course, about a month from now. And finally, in our last bit of news, let's talk about some KnockOff Labo equipment. I'm not kidding. I knew this was going to happen, right? I think a lot of people did, because it's made out of cardboard. So as long as you have some router or way to cut this stuff out and kind of figure it out, I guess you can sell it. The box art is a total ripoff of what Nintendo's doing. It's based out of China, where a lot of the knockoffs come from, and it's being sold through a lot of Chinese wholesale sites. Something like an AliExpress, for example, or an Alibaba. Those are places where these are being sold. I've seen two, and yes, I've ordered both of them, of course, and we're going to check them out here and see how well they do. But let's take a look at the first one here. It's a guitar. Apparently you order this, you construct the guitar, and then you put your Switch into the guitar, and then I guess it works somehow. My confusion about this is, does it come with software, right? I have no idea how it would work otherwise. So there must be a cartridge. It's like a knockoff cartridge that comes with it. The other one is an arcade cabinet, which actually looks cool. It actually looks like something that would be functional and be kind of neat to have. I mean, sure, you can build a little arcade unit out of cardboard and put the Switch in there and then drop the two Joy-Con controllers in, and they would kind of mimic, I guess, like a little arcade stick kind of, I guess. But this is kind of neat. I think my favorite one out of both of them, obviously, is the arcade unit, because that actually makes a lot of sense. Street Fighter's coming, so, you know, you drop that all in and you have a little Street Fighter cabinet for fairly cheap. I think the arcade cabinet one was like $8, $9, and then the guitar was like $12, so they're not even expensive. And honestly, we'll check out the arcade cabinet here, because I think that might be the one thing a lot of people would actually buy into. For $8, it's going to be really funny when it shows up. It doesn't, from the pictures I've seen, it doesn't look hard to put together or anything. Seriously, this will take a couple minutes. And hey, the arcade one is going to be fun to put together, but the guitar is going to be interesting because I have no idea how it works without software. And if we get into that, do we have bootleg Switch cartridges at that point? That's the question. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is System Shock on the Nintendo Switch. Is that weird that a company that really hasn't given their backers a lot is already kind of talking about moving the game to another system, bringing another system in to develop for when they're not even really anywhere near, I guess, being done. They're targeting Q1 of 2020, by the way, for this game to get out. So quite a while. Honestly, by 2020, Q1, I have a feeling PS5 and Xbox 2 will at least be kind of bouncing around in the news at that point, whether it's leaks or these developers alluding to the new hardware being out there. And if they then put it on the PS4 and the Xbox One, I guess it'll at least come out. But honestly, the Nintendo Switch might be their best system next to the PC, because that will be in like it'll be in like the perfect spot during its life cycle, where by then we could see almost 50 million Switch units out there based on the rate they're doing now. Also, let me know what you think about the KnockOff Labo stuff or the E3 map. Are you excited for E3? And do you have a company picked out from these maps, these floor plans that surprise you a little bit with their floor space? Let me know down in the comments, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.